Hello everyone, and welcome to my brand new Let's Play. Broken Sword, Shadow of the Templars, the Director's Cut. Now, this game holds, well, it stacks up in one of my top games ever. Made by a small company called Revolution. It sparked 4 sequels, one sequel, and the most recent one of number 5. I'm not counting the infamous 3 and 4 of the 3D ones, but this one was the first 2D one. This is the Director's Cut, a revisioned, remastered version. New bits in the game that you've never seen before, where you don't start off as George, you actually start as Nico. And those of you who have played the first game, the original first game, when she talks about the deaths of Media King and another famous guy by the death of a mime, well, this is where you find out a bit more about that side of the story and a bit more about Nico and her background, her family, a bit more about what goes on before George's story starts. So, this game is very talking. I do have a tendency to skip because I can quick read. I'm not going to do that though. I'm going to try very hard not to do that. But we are going to begin a new game, and we're going to enter again the world of adventure. That is just the awesomeness of Broken Sword Director's Cut. And for this first bit, I'm going to keep quiet, and I will resume talking when the game starts.
Paris, city of love, romance and dreams. So they say. I used to say it too, but ever since that day, the day of the murder, I've always associated my beloved Paris with death. I was at home having a bath when my editor called.
Collard, get your ass over to the Palais Royal now. You got an interview. With Pierre Carchon. Yes, the Pierre Carchon. No photos, so leave your gear at home. He asked for you personally. Don't ask me why. Anyhow, this could be big, so if he makes a pass, don't forget. Just smile, say yes, and keep taking notes.
So charming and so very apt. Pierre Carchon was a media king, a national hero, and one of the most infamous adulterers in Europe. He and his wife Imelda were just one step down from royalty. Whoa, I hate mimes, but unless you humor them, they don't go away. Here I was, the palace of the Media King and the Ice Queen. I pressed the doorbell and set in motion a chain of events which would change my life forever.
Yes? What is it?
Madame, my name is Nico Collard. I'm here to see Monsieur Carchon.
Come up, we're on the first floor.
Madame Cochon, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Yes, I'm sure.
The Ice Queen was certainly living up to her reputation. Will you be staying for the interview?
Mademoiselle, I know little of my husband's business affairs, and I care even less. I certainly have no intention of watching him pore over yet another pretty little journalist.
Pretty. You're too kind, madame.
Ah, the talented and very beautiful Mademoiselle Collard. Such a pleasure to meet you at last.
Monsieur Cochon, I am honored.
Oh, I'm sure you are.
Call me Pierre, please. But I do not flatter you idly. I was a friend of your father. He was a great man.
My father, he never mentioned.
He and I were very close. And then his death. So tragic. I must... Imelda, your damned cat's in my study again. Another Ming vase, I suppose. Excuse me for one moment, my dear girl.
You journalists are getting younger each year.
Perhaps it's the rest of the world getting older, madame. That was no cat.
My God, what? Monsieur Cochon! He's dead. I must call the police. You'd better stay here.
There was a man. It was the mime. Do you think he...
Well, I believe we can rule out suicide, don't you?
No wonder they called her the Ice Queen. She would have been top of my list of suspects if I hadn't seen the attacker myself. And if I hadn't come across a couple of murders just like this already. One of the most important men in Europe murdered. And here was I, Nico Coulard, alone at the scene of the crime. Should I wait for the cops? Or start my own investigation? It was a no-brainer.
So, here we are in... Oh, this is just telling you how to do the game, I already know. So here we are in Cochon's study. He's been shot by the mime, as you saw. You can interact with various things. The eyeball means to look at. The little cogs turning is to interact with the left mouse button, and to look with the right mouse button. There's another one there. Books, door. Obviously, the arrow means to move. This is inventory. You've got her notebook here that she writes everything down, basically to recap. So may do that at the beginning of each video that I do. What I'm looking to do is probably get to oh god, I'm dropping frames. Hopefully it won't fuck up on me. But yeah, so I'm hoping to go up to when the end of the first bit of Paris, which is just before you go to Ireland. So let's start, shall we? Now, let's have a look around.
The bookcase was filled with obscure first editions.
What's this?
A bust of Pierre Cochon, humble servant of La France. Pierre Cochon again. His eyes seemed to follow me around the room. You had to hand it to the Ice Queen. She sure knew her fabrics.
Let's move the curtain.
A small round piece of glass had been cut out of the pane. This was a professional job. This was the work of the mime. Unless the cat was in on it too. I didn't want to cut myself and leave blood on the glass. Call me old-fashioned, but I like to keep my DNA to myself. Your original 18th century high-security window handle.
Let's go out on the balcony, shall we?
The killer must have used a ladder to reach the window. He was long gone. Guess he folded that ladder up, popped it in his pocket and took it with him.
Let's have a look at him, shall we?
Mimes and guns don't usually go together, but I had an idea that this was no ordinary mime. I'd come across this murderer before, and written about him. The costume killer, at least that's what I'd called him. His lifeless eyes stared blankly at nothing. It was one of my hair clips. My favorite, in fact. It must have fallen when I was knocked down. His lifeless eyes stared blankly at nothing. I closed his eyes. It was the least I could do for the poor fellow. Some people hate searching corpses for clues. Me, I'm okay with it. Reminds me of an old boyfriend. Carchon had been shot. In his pocket, I found a ticket stamped Bateau de la Conciergerie. Taking the ticket meant I tampered with the evidence. There was no going back now.
So that's all we can do in here. We can have a look at some of the items. Yes, I know how to do that.
It was one of my hair clips. My favorite, in fact. It was a boat ticket stamped Bateau de la Conciergerie. When I was a little girl, Papa used to take me on the Bateau Mouche as a treat.
So there's nothing else to do in here, so let's go out the room, shall we?
The police could turn up at any minute. Somewhere there were clues to the murder, and I needed to find them.
Have a look at the table.
A beautiful cloth had been draped over the table. It was embroidered with an unusual cross. I reckoned that cloth might just turn out to be useful. There was a tiny hole in the tabletop. Part of the inlay had been chipped away. Even my fingernail wouldn't fit into such a small hole.
So what do you use? Let's try the lock pick. Good guess.
Aha! Nico, you are just so damn good at this stuff. A key had been hidden in a secret compartment. A modern key. Instead of comforting Imelda, I was ransacking her flat. Why? Because there was something going on here, and I had to get answers before the cops arrived. And hey, she'd been rude to me, so she had it coming.
Have a look at this, shall we?
Imelda had talent, but I certainly wasn't going to tell her that. It was a tube of acrylic paint. French ultramarine. Just the color I was after for my bathroom.
I'm sorry, I have to go. Someone is...
Young lady, what are you doing? Oh, this paint. It's my favorite color.
For God's sake, keep the damn stuff.
Imelda looked shocked, but still every bit as hostile. Even the telephone was antique. Never trust anyone who owns a phone like that. There was no one I needed to phone. Not until I had solved this case. Excuse me, madame.
Yes?
How did your husband know my father?
I have no idea.
You didn't know him? Thierry Coulard?
Pierre knew a lot of people I didn't know, most of them women.
Why would a mime want to kill your husband?
Pierre had plenty of enemies. Half the husbands in Paris for a start.
I am so sorry for your loss, madame.
No, you're not. You're a journalist. Journalists don't feel sorry.
Not true.
We shall see.
Why did your husband send for me? What did he want to discuss?
I have no idea. His business was his business.
He never told you anything.
No, and frankly, I preferred it that way. This is quite a scoop for you. I suppose you're already inventing the headlines.
Just because I am a journalist.
Don't patronize me. You're all cut from the same cloth. Do you have any moral sense at all?
Yes, that's why I do this job.
You do it to see your name in print.
As if my editor gets the byline, I just do the work.
Well, don't expect my sympathy.
The police will be here soon, madame. Is there anybody you would like me to contact? Family, friends?
No, I have no family. Pierre and I were... He was all I had, really. Not much, was it? The dutiful wife. That was my role. He never talked, never let me in.
I know one thing, madame.
What?
If you want to find out who killed your husband, then you let me do the job, not the police.
Why? How do I know I can trust you?
Your husband invited me here today because he needed me. I think he knew somebody wanted to kill him, and he knew I could help.
I doubt it was your database he was after.
You're wrong. I was onto his killers already, I am sure of it. Please, you owe it to him.
I don't know.
All I need is a few more minutes to look around before the police come.
You really do have a moral sense, don't you? I trust so few people. And perhaps Pierre really did think that you could help. Of course it wouldn't have stopped him seducing you too. Here, take this. It's the key to the drawing room next to the library at the end of the hall. It was Pierre's room. I rarely went in there. I couldn't. I was too scared of what I might find.
Thank you. I promise you won't regret this.
So, she didn't really care about her husband, and she's given us a key to the drawing room. Oh, it's tapestry. Let's have a look at that, shall we?
A medieval pageant. Original, no doubt. The tapestry must have cost a fortune. A fine Baroque door. It would look great in my apartment. The door was locked. It was the drawing room key. Now we were getting somewhere.
So, let's... So we're now in the drawing room, which was Pierre's room. So let's have a look at some of these stuff, shall we?
The painting showed the Cachons together, in love. As the poet said, the past is a different country. Or did I read that in a fortune cookie? Aha! There was a small button hidden in the picture frame. There was the very faintest of clicks. Behind the picture was a safe. The safe looked pretty secure. The safe was locked. I needed the key. A key. Maybe
Well,
a safe key.
we have a safe in front of us. Let's try it. Oh, what's this?
There was a strange stone cylinder in the safe. In the safe was some kind of artifact. There were strange symbols on its surface. It looked like the printer's blocks I'd made at art school. If there was one thing I'd learned about symbols, they are always important. But these symbols scratched into stone were impossible to read. I needed to find a way of printing them. At least the stone was round. But what could I use for ink? And what could I print on? Sure, I was stealing, but I knew Imelda didn't know about the artifact, and Carchon was past caring.
So, we have some kind of strange artifact from the safe.
The artifact was like an old printer's block, covered in symbols. The sofa was antique. For one horrible moment, I had an image of a naked cochon wriggling around on it with a young journalist. Oh. This wasn't the time for me to lie on the sofa doing my Marie Antoinette impression. Though it is very popular at parties, especially with gay guys. Don't ask me why.
So, let's have a look at the desk, shall we?
As expected, the desk was yet another priceless antique. Yawn. The blotter and in tray had clearly been placed with mathematical precision.
Let's have a look at this door first.
It was a back door. Locked. Not surprising, really.
Just checking. I'll check everything.
My heart skipped a beat. It was a carved elephant. But not just any carved elephant. It had been made by my father. I knew for certain because in my apartment I had its exact twin, carved into a box he had made. So Cochon had known my father. They really must have been friends. I decided to take the carved elephant. It clearly meant nothing to Imelda. I didn't need a sheet of blotting paper. Not while it was blank. It was a sheet of blotting paper in a leather holder. Its cracked surface looked ancient, reminded me of its owner.
Okay, so what do we have in our inventory that we can use in this world? We have this.
The tube of paint from Imelda's easel, French ultramarine. The paint would have just soaked into the blotting paper, but the idea was good. I'd spread blue paint over the bottom of the tray. It was ruined. I was a very bad girl, but also quite a clever one. I'd ruined the tray, but I was on my way to solving a clue. I'd ruined the tray. I didn't want to take the tray, but I knew that I could use it. In a way, I was going back to art school.
So we've got this, so you want to use that with this.
I rolled the artifact in the paint until it was completely coated. The cylinder was covered in the blue paint. I needed to work out what to do before the paint dried. Genius! The roller and the paint worked just as I planned. But what did it say?
Well, this actually is a clue, and I'm going to write it down really quickly. And it's a clue for later on in the game, but I'm not going to say what.
It was some kind of coded message. It read, sub judice. I may not have learned a lot as a journalist, but that was a term I knew well. It means a legal case that is before the courts. Below it was a sequence of letters that made no sense. I suddenly realized there was a connection between the boat ticket and the coded message. The boat ticket was stamped Bateau de la Conciergerie. The conciergerie on the Ile de la Cité, by the river, housed the ancient law courts. So, sub judice could in this case mean literally under the law courts, below the conciergerie. I was pretty sure I'd found all I could here. And besides, all this opulence was making me pine for my regular life of poverty. This was a huge story. It was also one heck of a puzzle with a lot of pieces missing. But I was going to crack it. And if I could just remember the name of that fancy prize you get for being an ace journalist, I was definitely going to win it this time.
So we have what we want here, so we're going to leave now. Oh, actually, we didn't explore everything. What's that? Light switch, obviously.
Even the light switch looked impressive. I didn't need the lights on. It was light enough
Just gonna-
already.
Look at everything that I can.
Did you find anything useful?
This carving. Do you know anything about it?
It was Pierre's. What does the statue have to do with...
Please, I need to know.
He was given it by a friend. Something to do with Africa.
He never explained any more.
No. But I think it was important to him. Always on display. Why?
It was carved by my father.
Oh, I see. I didn't know.
Imelda, I will do everything I can to find the killer.
Thank you, my dear.
And if the police ask,
Don't worry. You were never here.
Sub judice was the key. I was going to have to find a way under the conciergerie. I decided to head straight for the quayside on the Ile de la Cité. If there was a way of getting under the conciergerie, it would have to be from there.
Okay, we have now arrived at our next place.
Canchon wasn't the type for messing about on the river. He was up to something down here. Something that got him killed. An old boyfriend of mine owned a barge once. Dampest relationship I ever had. In every way. I wasn't leaving yet. I had a hunch there was more to find. This fence was a permanent fixture. The fence wouldn't move. This fence was a permanent fixture. This fence wouldn't move either. I wasn't leaving yet. I had a hunch there was more to find. The cross looked familiar. I'd seen it before. It was embroidered on the lace cloth I'd picked up at Carchon's apartment. I knew I was on the right track. I tried pushing the fence, but it wouldn't move. A strange pair of locks stopped the latches from
Okay,
releasing
so
the gate.
this is one of the first puzzles in the game, and it's a bitch. Let's see if I can do it. I can't remember how to do this one. So move everything across like that. It this should be. I think this is. Oh, balls. Right, yeah, across, across, up, up, down. This is proving harder than I actually thought. There we go.
Yes. One down, one to go.
done it.
Perfect. Nothing like a good convent education for honing your lockpicking skills.
I can safely say to everyone that normally takes me fucking ages. But a bit of concentration and a bit of determination, you can do anything.
For a room full of junk, that was one very sophisticated lock system. This place was definitely fishy, in more ways than one. The skiff hadn't been touched for years. I've got an exercise bike just like that. Oops. It was an old shell case, probably from the 50s. I knew what I was talking about. I grew up watching war movies. An old shell case. I wondered what that was doing there. A rough hole was cut into the pillar. The words sinister and Dexter were carved on either side. Now any good convent girl like me knows the old Roman for left, right, left, right. But what did it mean here? Nothing happened.
Right, now...
Nothing happened. The hole was too small even
Remember
for my
this?
little hand. The artifact was like an old print.
No, actually try using it in the hole. There we go.
Mystery solved. Carchon's stone cylinder slotted into the hole with a satisfying click.
So, you're wondering how you do this. Well, remember that, remember this?
Rolling out the painted cylinder had given me a print of a secret message.
So
it read,
it means go in direction of like a safe, so that's...
a satisfying click told me I turned it to the right position. It felt like tumblers in a safe. Another click. Another step closer.
Another S. Another D. Another S. Another S.
I love the sound of locks clicking open. The cross looked familiar. I'd seen it before. Oh my god! The slab came down with a hell of a force. The cross looked familiar. I'd seen it before. With nothing to hold it up, the cross dropped back down again. Ut lex vel ut next sumito. To the law or unto death submit. I guess these people didn't believe in liberté, égalité, or fraternité. Yes, I'll admit it. I was a swot at school. I also wore lipstick and the nuns never knew.
Okay.
The brass case was
So how do we
smooth
get the
and
cross to
perfectly
stay up
round.
and get over to there? Because if you try, you can't. You can't get from there holding the cross to the hole in the wall.
Lifting the cross closed the entrance door and also opened some kind of stone panel. Ingenious. If I was going to get a closer look at the panel, I'd have to find a way
So-
of keeping the cross up.
You need to use the shell over here.
A brass shell case versus a stone slab contest.
Oh, who's going to win that, I wonder?
The stone slab had flattened one end of the shell case. The shell case had been flattened at one end, forming a serrated edge.
So if you come back over here, use the shell casing.
The stone cross was propped up. Now I was getting somewhere. A round slot precisely carved into the stonework. I touched the slot. Nothing bad happened, which was good. I've always been attached to my fingers. This slot was designed for something specific. But
Try
what?
this. Ah, I knew I might have had to do that. Right, we need the cylinder, I believe.
I removed the shell case. I removed the stone cylinder.
So use a cylinder in this hole over here, or in the slot.
The artifact slotted into the hole perfectly. Behind the old walls, I could hear some kind of mechanism groaning into life, but whatever had been triggered had now jammed. The gap was too thin for me to get a grip. I needed something thin enough to prise the door open.
What do I use for this?
I was going to need something a lot stronger than a hair clip to free the door.
Maybe the shell casing.
I removed the shell case. The cross didn't drop back down. Some kind of mechanism was holding it up.
Use the shell casing on the door. And open sesame.
Another good use for a shell case. Another secret room. Somebody had something to hide. But was it what I was looking for? Wow. Through the darkness, I could see that this was a stateroom. But for what purpose? And how did it
So
tie
you
in
can't
with
obviously
Carchon?
see. So what do? Well, if you walk past it, any idiot will turn on the light before you walk into a freaking room. If you look over here, there's something flashing. Look at it.
It was an old circuit breaker, like something from a Frankenstein movie. Amazing! The thing still worked, The room lit up bright as day. A slot next to the safe door. All I had to do was find something to fit into it. It was like being back in kindergarten. All I needed now was a shape
Try
that would
this.
fit the slot.
Nope, didn't work.
Lady Justice stared out from a stone door, which was locked and reinforced with steel bands. A door like that always has something important behind it. I had to find a way to unlock it. The flags had faded, but their message was still pretty clear. Fascist regalia, a message of hate. The desks were covered with a layer of dust. No one had worked here for years. The flags had faded, but
I already heard that.
Fascist
so
regalia.
Look over here.
inside the drawer, I found a note written in some kind of code. It was pretty clear from the lack of dust that someone had been working very recently at this desk. Oh my God! The sheet was a printout with my personal information. Everything from my favorite food to my waist size. They were right about chocolate. Come on, guys, I'm a size 10. There was even a picture of me, taken with a telephoto lens. Carchon wouldn't have taken these pictures himself. This was big and organized. I was part of it, and people were getting murdered. This was the article I'd written about the costume killer. My suspicions were right. Carchon had cut it out. 2 businessmen had been killed. One in Italy, one in Japan. In each case, the killer had worn a costume. A penguin, and then a snowman. But that wasn't the only link between the 2 murders. Both the victims had been big media do-gooders, and I proved they were just the opposite. So, how did they fit in with Carchon? My articles about the costume killer.
Okay, so
My articles the dregs at the bottom of the mug hadn't dried out or gone moldy. It wasn't more than a day old.
now I can't remember this, so I know what it is. I'm aware of it, but I'm gonna go and figure it out and do it because I need to have notes for that. So yeah, I'm gonna call a video here. We're very close to the end of this first section anyway. In fact, I might go away and come back very quickly, finish this off. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to call a video here, guys. Thank you for watching. This is I hope everyone is enjoying it so far. It's a 49-minute video, so hopefully I'll be able to do it in 45 minutes to an hour. That's what I'm aiming for, and I should be able to get the game done. If we do a few videos a day, might do maybe 2 more videos, maybe another one at 45 minutes, another one at 45 minutes. Try and get to the end of this bit, but obviously the game is longer because of all these extra bits with Nico. So I'm hopefully going to get to the end of the Paris bit, but it's just before you go to Ireland. So I'm going to thank everyone for watching, and I will see you next time.